I wanted to make this video because in this real estate market, we see so many of these short sales and REOs and bank-owned properties on the market, and I really think it's important for buyers who are interested in, submitting offers on these types of distressed properties to understand what the differences are in the purchase process for these distressed sales as opposed to a more traditional or standard sale, because they are quite different, and they can end up turning a lot of buyers. At least I've had buyers who have been turned off throughout the process, and so I think it helps when you know what you're getting into. And so I wanted to explain, I guess, the basics and the fundamentals of writing offers on these types of sales. So since you're dealing with the banks in both of these offers, you find that the banks are pretty much calling the shots. So the banks call the shots in these transactions, and if you don't like that or you're not okay with that, then maybe distressed sales aren't the right types of properties to be looking at. But that's just the way it is, and I'll explain that a little bit more in more detail later. But one of the other aspects of purchasing these types of properties is that they truly are as is sales. And what I mean by that is, even in a standard sale, the standard purchase contract states in it that you're purchasing it as an as-is sale. But during the due diligence period, when the buyer is doing their inspections, and let's say they find some stuff that needs some repair, they have the opportunity to negotiate with the seller and ask for either them to repair or credit for the repairs before the close of escrow. And that's again how it works in a more traditional or standard sale. But with these bank-owned properties or these short sales, the banks will pretty much say no to all of that. They're not going to honor any of those requests for repairs or credits. So what you want to do is do your negotiating up front. And what I mean by that is, definitely go into the property, at least see the property before you write an offer on it. And if possible, maybe go through with a contractor and try to figure out how much work needs to be done and build that into your initial offering price. Because once you get into escrow, there's very little negotiation that can be done, if any. The other thing to keep in mind is that when you submit an offer on these distressed sales, you want to submit as clean an offer as possible. And what I mean by this is, you don't want to have any strange or funky terms. You are potentially going to be up against multiple offers, 2, 3. I even saw a property a month ago that had 17 offers on it. So when you're competing against that many other offers, you want yours to be the most attractive offer to the bank. And so you really want to clean it up, and you want it to be a slam dunk. You want the bank to look at that offer and say, okay, this is a no-brainer, I'm going to go with this one. So let's talk more specifically about short sales. And one of the things I will say about short sales is there's nothing short about them. And what I mean by that is the length of time these short sales can take. I still get a number of people who think short sales are quick sales. They absolutely are not. They're very lengthy sales, and I'll explain why that is. But it's important, if you are offering or making an offer on a short sale, is to know that you have to be patient, because it is going to be a lengthy process and a frustrating one at that. And so I'll explain how the process works. You submit the offer, and this is just like a normal sale. You would submit an offer to the homeowner. They still technically own the property, even though they have to run your offer by their lender and see if the lender is okay with moving forward with this short sale process. So let's assume they do. They submit your offer to the lender. The first step initially with the lenders is they just review the paperwork. And they're reviewing the offer, the contract, any paperwork that's had to be submitted by the seller, and they're essentially making sure that they're not missing anything that's vital to the file or for this transaction to move forward. So once all that is established, then the lender moves forward and they perform their own due diligence. And just like you as a buyer, when you purchase a property, you have your opportunity to review the comps, do your inspections, get an appraisal done. The lender does this as well, and they send their appraisers out and they send their real estate team out to look at the comps and look at the numbers that the appraisal comes in at. And they basically are just making sure that the short sale, the price of the short sale, is more or less in line with market value, that it's not drastically below where the market is at. And after all that's said and done, the next step is the bank assigns their negotiator, who is pretty much a point of contact with your realtor. And the negotiator is in charge of basically buttoning up the terms of the transaction. And once everything's agreed upon, they provide what's called a term sheet. And this is also known as formal lender approval. So you finally have this formal approval. This is what you're waiting for during a short sale transaction. And this is very much in detail establishes the terms of the transaction, the price, the time periods, and whatnot. And so once you have that coveted term sheet, then more or less what we'll call a normal escrow begins. And that's when you as the buyer have your opportunity to begin your due diligence and your inspections and make sure that the property is right for you to move forward with. Now, the problem with these short sales that a lot of people have, and this is where it's, again, very essential to be patient if you're writing an offer on these, is this time period, these first 3 steps, can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months in this market. And that's 3 to 6 months that you as a buyer have no idea what's going on. You don't know if the bank is going to go forward with your short sale. You don't know if they're going to turn around after this 3 to 6 months and tell you that it's not going to work out. So this can be frustrating. Communication tends to be very limited and sparse, and I think it's just important to know and understand that when you're writing offers on short sales, that this is the process, and to realize that it can be this lengthy amount of time. And again, just be patient, because you still can potentially get a good deal, but the cost on your end is that you have to have that patience. So let's move on to REOs. And one of the main differences from the start is with an REO, you're submitting your offer directly to the bank, because at this point the bank has already foreclosed on the property and they are now the owner of title. And another fundamental difference between REOs and short sales is once it's an REO or bank-owned property, it no longer has to go through this 3 to 6 months of the bank deciding whether they're going to go forward with a short sale or not. That decision's been made for them. They've already foreclosed. So you sort of sidestep this entire process here, which is kind of nice. But the caveat with REOs is the bank will furnish you with this bank addendum. And sorry, that's supposed to be a U, bank addendum. And this basically is written in the bank's legalese, written by their attorneys, and it is very much dictating the terms of the sale. So whereas the purchase contract that you'll submit, and at least it's this way in the state of California, the purchase contract is written very much in the favor of the buyer, giving the buyer lots of rights in the contract. This bank addendum more or less negates all of that and asserts the bank's terms. And basically, for example, it tells you that you have such and such amount of time to do your inspections and due diligence, and such and such amount of time to remove your contingencies. And so again, it sort of transfers the power from the buyer to the bank. And if you are interested in buying a REO or bank owned property, you have to be okay and you have to sign off on this bank addendum. Otherwise, you are not going to move forward. So I don't I don't want to make this video to scare people off from submitting offers on short sales or REOs. I just want people to be more informed before they spend too much time looking at these properties, because again, I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. I think we're still going to continue to see more and more short sales and REOs come on the property, and I just want people to have more understanding before submitting these offers as to what to expect during the process. So I hope this helps.